The chamber was too quiet. It was not normal silence. It was the kind of silence that felt heavy, like something bad was about to happen. The Galactic Council Hall was enormous. It stretched far beyond what human eyes were used to seeing. Tall, glowing pillars reached toward the ceiling, shining with cold blue light. Rows and rows of alien beings filled the seats, each one different from the other. Some were tall and thin, with pale gray skin and large black eyes. Others were covered in armor that looked like it was alive. Some did not even look solid. They shimmered like light. All of them were watching. At the very center of the chamber stood 3 humans. They looked small compared to everything around them, but they did not look afraid. The first was a woman in dark tactical gear. Her posture was straight, her eyes sharp, always scanning. She stood like a soldier who had seen many battles. Next to her stood a man wearing a long black coat. His face was calm, almost too calm, like he already understood what was coming. The third was an older man. His hair was gray, his face lined with age, but his eyes were alive. He looked around with quiet curiosity, not fear. They were the representatives of Earth, and they were alone. A low sound filled the chamber. It was not a voice, not exactly. It felt like something pressing into the mind. Then it became clear. A figure rose from the center platform. It was tall, taller than any human. Its body was covered in smooth silver skin, reflecting the blue light around it. Its eyes glowed faintly. This was the Speaker of the Galactic Council. When it spoke, every being in the chamber listened. "Humanity of Earth," the Speaker said. Its voice echoed, not through air but through thought. "You have been observed." A large hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It flickered to life, showing images. Humans fighting in wars. Humans surviving in extreme cold, in burning heat, in deep oceans. Humans standing against creatures far stronger than them and winning. The aliens watched in silence. The Speaker continued. "You are a species of contradiction." More images appeared. Humans helping each other. Humans saving strangers. Humans protecting even weak creatures. Then suddenly, humans destroying entire battlefields. Humans building weapons. Humans refusing to give up. "Your kind is weak," the Speaker said slowly, "yet you endure. Your kind is emotional, yet you adapt." The chamber remained still. The humans said nothing. The man in the black coat simply watched. The Speaker's voice grew colder. "This makes you dangerous." A soft wave of agreement spread across the chamber. Some alien beings shifted. Others stared harder at the humans. "You expand too quickly," the Speaker continued. "You learn too fast. You do not follow predictable patterns." Another hologram appeared. Human ships, primitive compared to alien fleets, but improving fast. "Left unchecked," the Speaker said, "you will disrupt the balance of the galaxy." The woman in tactical gear tightened her jaw slightly. Still, she said nothing. The Speaker raised one long hand. The hologram vanished. Then came the words that changed everything. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision." The entire chamber seemed to hold its breath. "Humanity is to be silenced." A pause. Cold, deep, final. "You will not send signals beyond your system. You will not expand. You will not interfere with galactic affairs." The older man slowly blinked. The woman's grip tightened slightly at her side. The man in the coat finally moved, just a small step forward. "And if we refuse?" he asked calmly. For the first time, a ripple passed through the chamber. Aliens shifted. Some leaned forward. The Speaker looked directly at him. "If you refuse," it said, "you will be removed." No emotion, no anger, just a fact. Quietly. The silence that followed was even heavier than before. The humans stood still. No panic, no shouting, just thinking. The woman looked at the man in the coat for a brief second. The older man exhaled slowly. The man in the coat gave a small nod. Then he stepped back. No more questions. No arguments. No resistance. The 3 humans turned around, and they began to walk away. That was it. No dramatic ending. No final words. Just silence. As they walked, hundreds of alien eyes followed them. Some felt relief, some felt curiosity, but few felt something else. Unease, because something about the humans' reaction did not feel right. They had not acted like a defeated species. They had not acted like victims. They had accepted the silence too easily, too calmly. The chamber doors opened. Bright white light spilled in. And then the humans were gone. The doors closed behind them with a deep sound. Inside the chamber, the speaker lowered its hand. "It is done," it said. Many in the council relaxed. The decision was final. Humanity had been controlled. But far away, on a small blue planet, the silence had just begun. Signals stopped. Transmissions ended. The galaxy watched Earth and saw nothing. No messages. No protests. Just quiet. But deep beneath the surface, something was waking up. Hidden facilities powered on. Old systems came back to life. New designs were unlocked. Across the planet, leaders gathered, not in fear, but in focus. No one spoke loudly. No one made threats. Because this was not the time for noise. This was the time for something else. A general stood in a dark command room, watching the last outgoing signal fade. He spoke only once. Very softly. They wanted silence. He paused. Then his eyes hardened. Let's show them what that really means. And across Earth, humanity answered, not with words, but with action. The galaxy believed humanity had been silenced. They were wrong. Humanity had not gone quiet. Humanity had begun to listen. And soon, it would strike. Earth did not react the way the galaxy expected. There were no loud speeches, no panic in the streets, no messages sent to beg for mercy. Instead, there was silence. But this silence was different. It was controlled. News of the Council's order spread across the planet within hours. Every government, every military, every scientist knew the truth. Humanity had been warned. Stay quiet or disappear. For a short moment, the world held its breath. Then something strange happened. Old conflicts stopped. Nations that had argued for decades suddenly went quiet. Borders that were once full of tension became still. Military forces did not stand down, but they changed direction. They were no longer watching each other. They were watching the sky, deep inside a secure command center. Far below the surface, leaders from different parts of the world gathered for the first time without disagreement. No flags, no arguments, just one shared understanding. A large screen showed the final message from the Galactic Council. The room was dim. Faces were serious. A woman in uniform spoke first. "So this is it," she said quietly. "They think we are a threat." An older man, one of the scientists, adjusted his glasses. "No," he replied. "They know we are a threat." The room fell silent again. At the center of the table stood the same man who had spoken in the council chamber, the one in the black coat. He looked around slowly. "They gave us two choices," he said. "Silence or extinction." No one interrupted. He continued. "So we choose a third option." A few heads lifted. The woman in uniform narrowed her eyes. "And what is that?" she asked. The man's voice remained calm. "We give them exactly what they asked for." Confusion spread across the room. But before anyone could question him, the screens changed. New data appeared. Hidden systems. Locked projects. Old designs that had been buried for years. Some of them had names. Others did not. A general stepped forward. "These programs are considered too dangerous," he said. "Too unstable. Too extreme." The scientist gave a small smile. "Perfect," he whispered. Around the world, things began to move. Factories that had been shut down for decades powered back on. Underground labs opened doors that had never been opened before. Satellites shifted position, then went dark. To the outside galaxy, it looked like Earth was going silent, but inside, it was waking up. Far beyond Earth, alien observation stations continued their watch. They monitored human signals every second. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then one by one, human transmissions stopped. Communication networks went offline. Military signals disappeared. Civilian broadcasts faded into nothing. An alien observer tilted its head. Signal loss detected. It reported, Another checked the systems. Multiple losses, global scale. A third voice joined in. Is this resistance? The first observer paused. No, this is compliance. The information was sent back to the Galactic Council. Inside the chamber, the speaker listened. Humanity has accepted the order, one council member said. There was a low wave of agreement. They are smarter than expected, another added. The speaker remained silent for a moment. Then it spoke. Continue observation. But not all were convinced. A smaller alien figure leaned forward. This feels wrong, it said quietly. No one responded. Back on Earth, the silence grew deeper. Cities still moved. People still lived their lives. But something had changed. There were fewer broadcasts. Less noise. More focus. In a hidden facility beneath a mountain, a group of engineers stood around a massive machine. It was not complete, but it was powerful. Energy pulsed through its core, glowing with strange light. One of the engineers spoke nervously. We were told never to activate this. Another replied without hesitation. Things have changed. A switch was flipped. The machine came alive. In the oceans, something else moved. Deep below the surface, beyond normal detection, large shapes began to shift. Old submarines were not alone anymore. New designs, faster, quieter, stronger, slipped into motion. No signals, no sound, just movement. In space, near Earth's orbit, satellites powered down one by one. To alien observers, it looked like failure, like a system collapsing. But hidden behind that darkness, something new appeared. Objects without signals, ships without identification, watching, waiting. Days turned into weeks. The galaxy relaxed. Humanity had gone quiet, just as ordered. Trade routes continued. Fleets returned to normal positions. The fear of human expansion slowly faded. They were never ready, one council member said. They chose survival. The speaker did not respond. But somewhere deep in its thoughts, there was doubt. Back on Earth, the final stage began. In the same underground command center, the leaders gathered again. The atmosphere was different now. Not tense. Focused. Ready? The general looked at the screen. All systems are in place, he said. The scientist nodded. They are blind, he added. The woman in uniform crossed her arms. And deaf. All eyes turned to the man in the black coat. He stepped forward. For a moment, he said nothing. Then, they wanted silence, he said. A pause. His voice became colder. So we gave it to them. He looked at each person in the room. Now they cannot hear us. Another pause, which means... He leaned slightly forward. They will not hear us coming. The room remained completely still. Then, one by one, heads nodded. Orders were given. Systems activated. Across Earth, humanity moved as one. Not loudly, not proudly, silently, and far away, in the dark between stars. Something disappeared. No warning, no signal, no trace, just gone. The first sign that the silence was not peace. It was the beginning of something far more dangerous. At first, no one noticed. Space was vast, too vast for small changes to matter. A missing signal here, a delayed report there. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming. That's what the Galactic Council believed. The first disappearance happened near the edge of a trade route. A small monitoring station stopped responding. It was not important, not powerful, just a relay point for passing ships. A routine check was sent. No response. A second signal followed. Still nothing. Finally, a patrol ship was dispatched. When it arrived, the station was still there, floating in space. Lights on, systems active, but empty. No bodies, no damage, no signs of attack. Just gone. The patrol captain sent a report. Possible system failure, he suggested. The council accepted it. Mistakes happen, even in advanced systems. Then it happened again. Another station, different region. Same result. Active but empty. This time, a team was sent inside. They scanned everything. Air levels normal. Power system stable. No weapons discharge. One of the investigators spoke slowly. It's like they just walked away. But there was nowhere to walk. No escape pods used. No doors opened. No signs of movement. It made no sense. Days later, a cargo ship vanished. Unlike the stations, this one did not leave anything behind. It simply disappeared mid-route. No distress call. No debris. Nothing. Now the council started to pay attention. Inside the chamber, quiet discussions began. "These are not accidents," one member said. "Then what is it?" another replied. No one had an answer. Far from the council, in a dark region of space, a fleet moved carefully. Alien warships, heavily armed, scanning everything around them. They were sent to investigate the disappearances. The fleet commander stood on the bridge, watching the empty stars. "Maintain formation," he ordered. Full scans. Sensors stretched out into the void. Searching. Listening. Waiting. Then, a signal. Weak. Strange. "Source?" the commander asked. An officer hesitated. "Unknown. It doesn't match any known system." "Track it." The signal flickered, then vanished. The officer looked confused. "It's gone." The commander frowned. "Stay alert." Minutes passed. Nothing happened. The stars remained still. The fleet continued forward. Then, one ship went dark. Just one. No explosion. No warning. It was there, then it wasn't. "Report," the commander shouted. Panic spread across the bridge. "We lost contact." "How?" No signal, no damage detected. Before anyone could react, another ship vanished. Then another. The fleet broke formation. "Defensive positions," the commander yelled. Weapons powered up, shields activated. But there was nothing to fire at, nothing to see, only empty space. And then, a voice. Calm, quiet, not from any known channel. "We see you." The entire bridge froze. "Who is this?" the commander demanded. No answer, only silence. Then, "We hear everything." The voice faded, gone as quickly as it appeared. Back at the council, emergency signals flooded in. Multiple losses. Ships gone without a trace. Stations empty. Trade routes collapsing. Fear began to spread. This was no longer a small problem. This was something new, something unknown. Inside the chamber, voices rose. "This is an attack." "From who?" "No known species uses this method." The speaker remained still, listening, processing. Then one council member said something that changed everything. "What about humanity?" The chamber went quiet. Another member shook its head. "Impossible. They are silent. We are monitoring them." "Are we?" the first replied. Doubt spread. The speaker finally spoke. "Increase surveillance on Earth." Orders were sent immediately. Long-range sensors focused on the human system. Deep scans began. What they found was nothing. No signals. No movement. No activity. Earth was completely silent. One observer reported, "It's like the entire system is asleep." But it wasn't. Near the edge of human space, something moved. It had no lights, no signals, no visible engines. It drifted like a shadow. Inside, human operators worked in complete silence. No talking, only gestures. Screens showed data from across the galaxy. Enemy movements, fleet positions, weak points, everything. One operator tapped a screen. A target appeared. Another operator nodded. A simple command was given. The ship adjusted slightly. Then it disappeared. Back in alien space, another station went dark. This time, there was a witness. A small scout ship hidden behind an asteroid field. Its pilot watched everything, and what it saw made no sense. The station did not explode. It did not break apart. It simply folded, like space itself bent for a moment. Then it was gone. The pilot's hands shook. Report to command. But before the message could be sent, the scout ship systems failed. Lights flickered. Controls died. And in the reflection of the dark screen, the pilot saw something behind him. A shape. Human. Silent. Watching. The signal never reached the council. Now fear was real. Not quiet concern. not confusion. Fear, because something was hunting, something precise, something invisible, and no one understood it. Back on Earth, the command center was calm. Reports came in quietly. Targets confirmed. Operation successful. No celebration. No emotion. Just progress. The general looked at the screen. How many? He asked. Minimal losses, someone replied. Enemy? A pause. Then, they don't even know what's happening. The general nodded slowly. Good. The man in the black coat stood in the shadows, watching everything. He spoke softly. They wanted us to be silent. He looked at the data, disappearing fleets, failing systems, growing panic. They thought silence meant weakness. A faint, cold expression crossed his face. They were wrong. He turned away. Silence, he said quietly, is where we are strongest. And across the galaxy, the silence grew louder, not empty, not peaceful, but filled with something far worse. Humanity was no longer preparing. Humanity had begun, and the galaxy was finally starting to notice. The galaxy was no longer calm. Fear had replaced silence. Trade routes were breaking. Military fleets were vanishing. Outposts were going dark without warning. And still, no one could see the enemy. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, the mood had changed completely. There was no confidence anymore. Only tension. Voices overlapped. This is war. No, it's something worse. We are being hunted. The speaker stood in the center, silent as always. But even it could feel the shift. This was not random. This was planned. Careful, controlled, precise. A large hologram filled the chamber. Red markers appeared across the galaxy, each one a lost station, a destroyed fleet, a missing ship. They were not spread out randomly. They formed a pattern. One council member leaned forward. They are targeting structure, it said. Another added quickly, communication, command, control points. The realization spread slowly. This was not chaos. This was strategy. Far away, an alien command fleet prepared for battle. Hundreds of ships gathered in formation, weapons charged, shields at maximum. They were not waiting anymore. They were ready to fight back. The fleet commander stood tall. We will draw them out, he said. Whatever is attacking us will face us directly. The fleet moved forward, a show of power, a challenge, but space remained empty. No enemy, no movement, nothing. Minutes passed. Then, a single signal appeared, right in the middle of the fleet. Target locked, an officer shouted. Fire. Energy weapons exploded across space. Bright beams cut through the darkness. But they hit nothing. The signal vanished. A distraction. The commander's eyes widened. Wait! Too late. Ships at the edge of the formation began to disappear. Not explode. Not break. Disappear. One after another. Fast. Precise. Panic spread. Defensive pattern. Closed formation. But it didn't help. The tighter they grouped, the easier they became to track. Invisible attacks struck from every direction. Then, silence. Half the fleet was gone. The rest retreated, not defeated in battle, but broken in mind. Back in the council chamber, the reports came in. Losses were rising. Control was slipping. One member slammed its hand down. This is impossible. Another replied, No, this is human. The room went still. Earth, still silent, still dark, still invisible to the galaxy. But inside, everything was moving. In orbit, hidden ships drifted like shadows. Their surfaces absorbed light. Their systems produced no signals. They did not look powerful. They did not need to. Inside one of these ships, human operators worked with perfect focus. Every movement was planned. Every action calculated. A screen showed a live map of the galaxy. Enemy fleets. Council positions. Weak points. All marked. A young operator looked at the data. They're regrouping, she said quietly. Another replied, They're scared. The general stood behind them. Good, he said. Fear made enemies predictable. On another screen, a simulation played. Future movements. Enemy responses. Counter-strategies. Humanity was not reacting anymore. They were leading. Deep underground, scientists watched energy readings climb. A new system was being tested. Not a weapon. Not exactly. Something else. Something that bent the rules of space itself. One scientist whispered, "We're not just hiding anymore." Another finished the thought, "We're rewriting the battlefield." Back in alien space, a new tactic was attempted. The Council deployed long-range scanners, advanced detection systems. Nothing escaped these sensors before. They scanned entire regions at once, looking for anything hidden, anything unusual. At first, nothing. Then, a flicker, small, almost invisible. "Contact detected," an observer shouted. Coordinates locked. For the first time, they had something. A strike fleet was sent immediately. Fast, focused, ready. They jumped to the location, weapons charged, prepared for anything. But when they arrived, there was only emptiness. One officer frowned. "False reading." Another checked the data. "No, it was here." Then, a voice echoed across every system. Clear, calm, human. "You're learning." The fleet froze. "Identify yourself," the commander demanded. No answer, only silence. Then, "You're still too slow." And suddenly, their systems shut down. All at once. Lights off, weapons dead, engines frozen, total darkness. Inside the ships, panic erupted. "What's happening? I can't control anything." This isn't possible. But it was. Because this was no longer war in the way they understood. This was control. Total control. Moments later, systems came back online. But it was too late. They were surrounded, not by ships, by nothing, empty space. But they knew they were being watched, tracked, hunted. Back on Earth, the operation ended smoothly. Minimal effort, maximum effect. The general nodded. "Next phase," he said. In the council chamber, fear was no longer hidden. It was open, clear, real. "They're inside our systems," one member said. "They control our space." Another added. The speaker finally spoke again. "They have changed." A pause. Then, "No, they have adapted." And that was the truth. Humanity was no longer the same species the council had judged. They were not loud, not emotional, not predictable. They had become something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. The man in the black coat stood alone in the command center, watching the galaxy struggle, watching the fear grow. He spoke softly. "They tried to silence us." He looked at the stars. "So we learned how to move without a sound." A pause. His voice dropped even lower. "And now, they can't stop us." Across the galaxy, systems continued to fail. Fleets continued to fall, and no one could fight back, because you cannot fight what you cannot see, what you cannot hear, what you cannot understand. Humanity was no longer rising. They were already above, and the galaxy was falling behind. The galaxy was breaking, not in fire, not in loud war, but in quiet, controlled collapse. One by one, systems failed. Communication networks stopped working. Military commands could not reach their fleets. Leaders sent orders, but nothing answered. It was not chaos. It was something worse. Everything was still, but nothing worked. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, panic had fully taken over. No one tried to hide it anymore. Voices were loud now. Angry, afraid. "This must stop. We are losing control." They are inside everything. The great chamber that once showed power now showed weakness. The speaker stood in the center, still calm. But even its silence felt different now. Heavier, more uncertain. A large display filled the air. It showed the current state of the galaxy. Red zones everywhere. Dead space. Lost fleets. Disconnected worlds. One council member spoke with shaking voice. "They are not destroying us." Another finished the thought slowly. "They are removing us." The words hung in the air, because it was true. Humanity was not acting like a normal enemy. They were not attacking for revenge. They were not spreading fear for fun. They were doing something precise, Something planned long before this moment. Far away, in one of the Council's strongest systems, a massive defense grid stood ready. Thousands of weapons, layered shields, automatic response systems. Nothing had ever broken through it. It was their final line. If anything could stop the humans, it would be this. Inside the command station, officers stood ready. Full alert, the commander ordered. Nothing gets through. Sensors scanned every direction, every signal, every movement. Time passed slowly. Nothing happened. One officer relaxed slightly. Maybe they won't risk it, he said. The commander did not respond. He kept watching, waiting. Then every screen went dark. At once. No warning. No system failure alert. Just black. What happened? Someone shouted. Backup systems activate. Nothing. Total silence. Even internal communication stopped. No sound. No signal. No control. Then the lights came back. But something had changed. The main display turned on by itself. A message appeared. Simple. Clear. Human. Stand down. The commander's hands shook. Who is doing this? He whispered. No answer. Only that message. Suddenly, outside the station, the defense grid shut down. Shields dropped. Weapons powered off. All at once. Without permission. Without command. And then they saw it. For the first time. A human ship. It was not large. Not like their warships. It was simple. Dark. Smooth. Almost invisible against space. But it was there. And it was enough. No weapons fired. No attack came. The ship just stayed there. Watching. Waiting. Inside the station. Fear spread like fire. What do we do? An officer asked. No one answered. Because they all understood something now. This was not a fight they could win. Back in the council chamber, more reports arrived. Defense systems falling. Core worlds going dark. Command chains broken. Everything that gave them power was being taken away. One council member stood up suddenly. This is our fault, it shouted. All eyes turned. We tried to control them. We pushed them. We forced them into this. Another member replied quickly. They were always dangerous. No, the first said, we made them dangerous. Silence followed. A heavy truth filled the chamber. The speaker finally moved. Slowly, it raised its head. They have surpassed expectation, it said. A pause. Then, they are no longer reacting. Another pause. They are deciding. That was the difference. Before, humanity responded. Now, they acted first. Back on Earth, the command center remained calm. No cheering, no celebration, only progress. The general looked at the latest reports. Status, he asked. A technician answered. Council systems are nearly fully compromised. Resistance? Minimal. The general nodded. Expected. The man in the black coat stepped forward. Prepare communication, he said. The room shifted slightly. This was new. Up until now, there had been no communication, only silence. Are we ready? The woman in uniform asked. The man looked at the data, then at the growing collapse of the council. Yes, he said quietly. It's time. Back in the council chamber, something unexpected happened. A signal appeared. Not broken, not hacked, clear, direct, from Earth. The entire chamber froze. No one spoke. No one moved, because this had not happened since the silence order. The speaker looked at the signal. For the first time, there was hesitation. One council member whispered, They are contacting us? Another replied softly, No, they are allowing us to listen. The signal opened, but no image appeared. Only a voice, calm, controlled. Human, we hear you, the voice said. The entire chamber felt it. Not loud, not aggressive, but powerful. You try to silence us. A pause. No one dared interrupt. We accepted. Another pause. Longer this time. Heavier. And in that silence, the voice continued. We changed. The chamber remained frozen, because deep down, they already knew, back in space, more systems shut down, more fleets lost control, more power slipping away. The galaxy was no longer under the Council. It was under something else now. Something quiet, something precise, something human. The man in the black coat stood still, listening to the connection. Then he spoke one final command, send the final message. And across the galaxy, every remaining system received it at the same time. No delay, no interference. The Council watched, helpless, silent, as humanity finally spoke. And in that moment, everyone understood this was not the end of a war, because there had never been a war. This was the end of control and the beginning of something far greater. The signal spread across the galaxy in an instant. No delay, no distortion, no way to stop it. Every system, every station, every surviving fleet received the same message. And for the first time since the Silence Order, humanity was speaking. The Galactic Council chamber stood frozen. No one moved, no one interrupted, because now they were listening, not as rulers, not as judges, but as something else. Witnesses. The voice continued. Calm, clear, controlled. You believed silence was weakness. A pause. The words echoed across the chamber, across the stars, across every world still connected. You believed that if we stopped speaking, we would stop growing. Another pause, long enough for the truth to settle. You were wrong. Images began to appear. Not chaotic, not fast, slow, deliberate, easy to understand. The first image showed Earth, from space. Quiet, blue, peaceful, but then the view changed. Deep underground cities, hidden structures, massive networks working in perfect coordination. The next image, human ships, but not like before. No signals, no visible weapons, no wasted movement. Each one placed exactly where it needed to be. Another image, alien fleets being surrounded without ever seeing their enemy. Systems shutting down, commands failing, control slipping away. Then, human faces, not angry, not proud, focused, united. Back in the council chamber, no one spoke, because now they understood. This had never been random. This had never been luck. This was design. The voice continued. We are not the strongest. A pause. We are not the oldest. Another pause. We are not the most advanced. Silence followed, because that part was true. Even now it was still true. Then the final line came. But we learn. The weight of those words hit harder than any weapon. We learn fast. Images shifted again. Human technology evolving, adapting, improving at a speed the galaxy had never seen. We learn from fear. Scenes of human history. Wars. Loss. Survival. Growth. We learn from silence. Now the recent events. The shutdown of Earth. The disappearance of signals. The hidden preparation. And when we learn, the voice slowed, became colder, stronger. We do not forget. The message paused, but it was not over. Back in the council chamber, one member whispered, "What do they want?" No one answered, because they already feared the truth. The voice returned. You tried to control us. A pause. You tried to limit us. Another pause. You tried to erase us quietly. The chamber felt smaller now, heavier, like the power had shifted and never came back. But you failed. At that moment, across the galaxy, systems that were shut down began to change again. Not destroyed, not removed, adjusted, rewritten. Communication lines reopened, but not under the Council's control. Fleet systems powered on, but not under old command. Everything was working again, but nothing belonged to the Council anymore. They had not been destroyed. They had been replaced. The speaker finally moved. For the first time, it felt uncertain. It spoke slowly. What is your intention? Its voice no longer carried absolute authority, only caution. The reply came instantly. We are not here to destroy the galaxy. A pause. We are here to exist in it. Simple words. But they carried a new meaning now. A stronger meaning. You will not silence us again. No anger, no threat, just truth. The chamber remained still, because there was nothing to argue, nothing to deny. The council had lost, not in battle, not in war, but in understanding. They had judged humanity too early. They had tried to control something they did not understand, and in doing so, they had forced it to evolve. Back on Earth, the command center was quiet. The final message had been sent. The galaxy had heard it. The general looked at the screens. "Status," he asked. A technician replied. "Full system control achieved." Another added, "No active resistance." The woman in uniform exhaled slowly. "It's over," she said. The man in the black coat shook his head slightly. "No," he said. "It's just beginning." He looked at the stars, not as targets, not as enemies, but as something else. Opportunity. "Before," he continued, "we were trying to join the galaxy." A pause. "Now," he let the words settle, "the galaxy will adjust to us." Far away, in the council chamber, no one spoke anymore, because deep down, they understood. Humanity was no longer asking for a place. They had already taken it, and they had done it without noise, without chaos, without warning. The same silence that was meant to control them had become their greatest strength. Across the galaxy, a new balance formed, not led by fear, not controlled by power, but shaped by something different. Adaptation. The final human message remained in every system, unchanged, unmoving, a reminder. We were never dangerous because we were loud. A pause. One last line. But because of what we become when we're silent. And this time, no one tried to silence them again.